Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone joining us. Today, we have a very special guest with whom we will understand and explore how we can use robotic process automation with CRM and Salesforce platform. I am Satya Sekhar, working as Senior Developer Evangelist with Salesforce APAC Developer Relations team. We have Arjun with us today, and we will learn from him how to automate business processes with Automation Anywhere. Hello, Arjun. How are you?
Good, thanks, Satya. I am Arjun S. Meda, a senior developer evangelist with Automation Anywhere. I'm part of the developer experience team, and my goal is to help developers build great bots which customers would love to use.
Great, Arjun. Before we start, let's get into the forward-looking statement. Awesome, there we go. Before we move forward, let me quickly remind you that in today's session, we might be forward-looking few features which may not be generally available on the platform. If you are planning to make any purchase decisions, please base your decisions only on what are currently available on the platform. You're all muted. If you have any questions, you need not really wait until the end of the session. You can post your questions in the Q&A pane of the GoToWebinar. We'll try to visit the questions during the session, and we will be answering most of the questions towards the end at the Q&A slide. If you have more questions, you can reach out to our awesome forums. And if your questions are specifically related to Automation Anywhere, please visit apeople.automationanywhere.com and get all your questions answered. Let me also remind you that this session is being recorded and we will post the video on the page from where you have registered. You can join our Telegram channel, Salesforce Devs India, to get the latest updates all about the platform. You can also follow us on Twitter and check out our channels on Facebook and YouTube to find more awesome sessions. You can follow the Automation Anywhere on Twitter as Automation NEWH. Note that spelling is correct. It is Automation NEWH. And on LinkedIn as Automation Anywhere to find what's happening in the world of robotic process automation. You can also watch more videos on the dedicated YouTube channel for Automation Anywhere. Before we get into the agenda of today's session, we want to run a quick poll. Please feel free to answer the poll, which gives us some inputs to lead our session. You have 30 seconds to answer, and Arjun is going to launch the poll for us now.
Can you please confirm if you are able to see the poll?
Yeah, and I think that it is confirmed because I see people answering the poll, which is really interesting, and it is definitely going to help us.
Okay, we'll just give it a few more seconds as folks are still responding.
Yes. There we go. We had 1 minute and we got so many responses, and most of them, about 50% of the people, have heard of it but never used. But there are 17% of the people who never heard of it. And there are few people who also built the basic bots, and there are few advanced people as well. There you can see the results on the screen. That's great to see. So we'll cover everyone. So if you are an advanced developer or you have built the basic bots or you never heard of it, that's absolutely fine. We are going to cover all of you in this webinar today. Without any more ado, I'd like to hand it over to Arjun to walk us through the agenda of today's webinar. Over to you, Arjun.
Okay, thanks, Satya. So here in the session, as we have a mix of people, we would first introduce what is robotic process automation and how it is going to be useful for Salesforce developers. Then we will talk about how Salesforce and Automation Anywhere are working together in this journey. We will also look at the differences between RPA and API-based automation. That is, how does it consider when compared to an analogy of two sides of a coin. Then we will look at specific RPA related use cases for CRM. And then we will also show you live demos on how you can build a bot and run it. And last but not the least, whatever questions you have, we are more than happy to answer.
Great, Arjun. So we have a lot to cover today. And Arjun, imagining myself as a novice, I have many questions in my mind at the moment, like say how robotics process automation is different from integration in general, because we say we are connecting the systems, or what is the fundamental difference between API and non-API based integrations, and more. But I know it's too early to ask such questions, so I'll ask little later. But I want to start with a fundamental question. When you say robotic process automation, does it also involve any kind of physical robot?
Oh, that's a good question, Satya. We get this from a lot of people. To just clarify, in this webinar, whatever RPA, that is the robotic process automation, we are going to discuss about, it is all about just the software bots. It has nothing to do with the physical robots which move around. So let me explain what RPA means. In our day-to-day activities, as humans, we work with computers and smartphones. We use a variety of applications. It can be anything like spreadsheets, presentations, files, folders, PDF documents. It can be even chatbots and calendars, which take up a lot of time. Instead of working on some of these boring tasks, which are like very repetitive and mundane, we can use software. So this is where RPA comes into place, the use of software bots to automate manual, repetitive, and mundane tasks and processes so humans can be more productive. So now, once we offload this kind of monotonous work to the bots, which can work 24/7, that's when we are going to have enough time to involve in critical thinking, important customer-centric roles, and it's going to save a lot of time too.
Great. So we have instant bots on Salesforce platform, Arjun, which are basically chatbots empowered with artificial intelligence, which can be configured from the Salesforce org. Or these bots have something to do with the instant bots?
Not really. These bots, whatever we are discussing here, are specifically RPA bots and not the Salesforce Einstein bots. However, they can connect with chat bots and Einstein bot so that you can create a seamless integration between these platforms.
So let me put what I understand from this through a use case. Say, for instance, we can use the artificial intelligence enabled instant bots to collect the information from the customers in a friendly, interactive manner. And then this information can be passed on to the RPA to build a robust process automation. Am I correct?
Yes, that's totally right. So let me explain a little more about how it works. Let's consider the front and back office automation. We'll first consider a front office use case. Let's consider an example about a customer support case. A customer calls up a service center asking about an insurance claim status, for which the representative has to look up multiple systems to check the status and update the customer. Typically, the front office automation is also known as attended automation. It actually empowers a customer service agent to get help from an attended RPA bot during a live customer call. On the other side, we have back office use cases. Let's take an example of Salesforce report extraction and delivery. It can be on a daily basis, weekly, or even as needed. And these back office automation are typically known as unattended automation, which runs totally on the virtual machines and do not have anything to do with the user's machine. So now let's look at what can you automate with RPA. We'll again take some scenarios. Let's take a scenario about a loan application processing. Here, the team is going to receive a lot of loan application forms from different third-party vendors and also online sign-up forms, which are then shared through emails, either in Excel, CSV, or even PDF documents. And these documents, which are coming through an email, can be read by a bot, and it can parse these emails and save the attachments and the email text to the local system. And then the bot can extract the unstructured data using IQ-Bot, which is our intelligent document processing platform. It can extract data from complex documents from a wide variety of formats. And based on their eligibility, they will have to be classified into different categories. So that's where the bots can move files and folders to appropriate locations. Then the data has to be entered into a web application. It can be like any internal applications built. Mainly, we are looking at something which does not even provide an API. That's where the data can be easily transferred from the local Excel files or the PDF files to the form fillings online. And even it can be a web or a local application. That means any system installables which are working on the Windows, the bots can read through. Similarly, let's take a couple of more examples. The second one being the product feedback. The product feedback team has to perform sentiment analysis for feedback received through various channels. So the bots can classify these responses based on whatever criteria we have defined, and then it can take certain actions for each of the criteria. That's where it can do all the required computations. And then if it is required, it can even respond by posting to different social media networks. Not only this, the RPA bots can work on any kind of Excel operations. It can also work on the terminal operations. Again, as you know, any of the terminal mainframes, they don't provide any APIs for you, and still the RPA bots can work on this. And here we are talking about some simple tasks to be automated, right? Definitely the developers can do without RPA tool, but what is this bringing in? This is where we want to showcase how easy it is to build bots based on low code platform. And it's all about you just have to drag and drop the different actions available and build the bots. And then for power programmers who are very familiar with programming languages, they can bring in any kind of scripts which are built in Java, Python, .NET, and also JavaScript. So these are all inbuilt into the platform where you can write inline scripts and then call them.
That's a lot of things that we can do, Arjun. Can you show a demo of a simple use case where we can use robotic process automation in general?
Sure, definitely. Let's take a simple example. Here, in this case, we will look at a web application which does not provide you any kind of APIs. So we have to work on the front end only. We'll consider a purchase order tracking website. In this, the POs are all added on a continuous basis, and then these have to be monitored and the reports have to be sent out to admins for appropriate actions to be taken on the vendors. Now let's see a simple live demo. This is the web page which has all the purchase order details. It has multiple pages as well. For the simplicity of the first demo, we'll just try to extract all the data from this site, load it to a local CSV file and put it on your desktop. And then it can also send out an email with that attachment. Let's see how this looks like. Let me just log into the platform.
So in this case, we are in fact extracting the data from an application which is not exposing any kind of API, right?
Exactly, yes. So
Yeah.
here, I'm just going to show you 4 steps on what it's going to do. It's going to launch the website. It's going to capture the table. It is going to write it to a data table, and then which will be stored on a local system. And then it's going to be emailing it to a specific email ID, which I've defined. Let me click on run to see how the bot runs. Okay, now that the bot has completed execution, let me just go to my mailbox, refresh the mailbox to see if I've received a new email. As you can see, it has extracted the data from that application, and then it is all available in a CSV file sent across to a specific email. Yes, next let's talk about the Salesforce and Automation Anywhere. Satya, would you like to talk about this?
Sure, Arjun. Let's go to the next slide where I want to show the different ways in which we can automate the things using the Salesforce platform. With Salesforce, we can literally implement any kind of automation. As you all know, we can use the point and click builders like Process Builder to build criteria-based automation. It can be used to start behind the scenes or say background business processes automatically. When the process requires inputs from the user, we can use Flow Builder, which is even more powerful and serve complex business logic than the Process Builder. We can also automate across connected systems. So if you see here, we can use the platform events where we can publish and subscribe to the events within Salesforce and also the external sources. The other choice is we can use external services and connect to an external endpoint as an Apex action. We can also build our own flexible APIs using MuleSoft Anypoint platform, and we can connect to different systems using the connectors of and APIs of MuleSoft Anypoint platform. We can also leverage Apex to create custom integrations, both outbound and inbound. So there was one question I was seeing in the Q&A pane where they asked like, oh, we already have these things. Then where are we going to use this robotic process automation? To answer that question, I can say we can use robotic process automation when we want to integrate with, say, the legacy systems, which does not expose the APIs. We can trigger RPA right from the process builder. Arjun, can you elaborate more on what is Automation Anywhere and how we can implement this RPA using Automation Anywhere?
Sure, Satya, definitely. Let me briefly talk about Automation Anywhere. Automation Anywhere is a market leader in RPA and hyper automation. Let me take a moment to mention about few of our key customers. As you can see these logos here, the customers are spread across different domains and they use our platform as RPA is technology and domain agnostic. So what that means is it can work across technologies and across any domains. It basically mimics the human behavior and works with various applications in the system. Now, let's look at how Salesforce and Automation Anywhere are coming together. To just add a single point about the strategic relationship between the Automation Anywhere and the Salesforce Ventures is a lead investor in Automation Anywhere Series B funding. So with this relationship, there are multiple solutions being developed jointly. Let me just give you one example about a connector. There is a Salesforce connector in which you can kick off the RPA bots directly from the Salesforce platform. You can even connect to Salesforce objects such as cases or objects. For example, you can also configure bots to be executed as part of a process builder whenever a specific condition is built. You can learn more about these joint solutions, which are still in progress, and they'll be announced on the Innovation Day on October 7th. Please visit our website for more details. So now let's look at what can be automated in this CRM context. Automation Anywhere makes it easier for Salesforce customers to automate any of the repetitive manual tasks and focus on what matters the most for them, that is the customer. So that's where Automation Anywhere helps customers automate their end-to-end business processes involving CRM platforms. Also, we provide you an opportunity to offer CRM automation solutions on both the marketplaces, AppExchange and BotStore. Satya, would you like to talk about AppExchange?
Definitely, Arjun. But before I talk, let me remind you all who are watching this session that sometimes there may be a drop in audio because of the internet issues at your place or the issues with the GoToWebinar, or there may be a lag in the screen. In that case, you can just leave the webinar once and rejoin. The issue will be fixed. With that said, let me talk about one of our very good product from AppExchange called Automation Anywhere RPA Bots for Salesforce. And this product can be installed in your org and you can use it to map the Salesforce objects to the parameters that can be passed to the RPA bots. As you all know, Now, RPA bots can integrate with any kind of API or even non-API based applications. It is very easy to use this automation anywhere connector. You can configure the authentication information for the automation anywhere connector in the org, and then you can map the S objects with the parameters of the bot. We can then trigger the RPA bot from anywhere, like say process builder, as Arjun was referring to it in the earlier slide. And Arjun, you are also referring to something called a bot store, which looks similar to the AppExchange in the earlier slide. Is it just like AppExchange, or how is it different? Can you elaborate more on Bot Exchange as well? Because I know most of the people who are watching this session today know all about AppExchange and how to install the product from there. But again, as I said, it's very easy to install this product and start working on it. Now, let's hear from Arjun to talk more about the store that they have from where we can get the bots, ready pre-built bots.
Sure, Satya. Let me explain about the Automation Anywhere's bot store. The bot store is the largest online marketplace for pre-built, ready-to-deploy automation solutions. So you can see the variety of use cases ranging across different domains and the business units. And how does it relate to the developers? So here is an opportunity for the developers to create an income source, as these are monetizable assets. And again, the URL is mentioned at the bottom for you to take a look at more solutions.
Okay. After seeing these connectors, in fact, I have a question again, Arjun. How is RPA different from any of the API-based automations?
Let me explain about that. So let's look at how RPA and API-based systems come together as a two sides of a coin. When we compare both the solutions, it's not an either or an or. You can use API-based automation when all the systems involved in the workflow offer robust APIs. Let me set the context here. For the workflow, we are only referring to generic business processes and not to be connected to the Salesforce workflow. Let me give you a simple example for a use case where just API-based automation is adequate. Let's take an example like updating contacts or creating opportunities in the Salesforce. On the other side, you can use RPA when the workflow has legacy, that is no APIs, and definitely you can use any of the modern applications which also provides you an APIs also. This RPA bots, it not only can invoke APIs, but can provide you additional capabilities like screen scraping, extraction of data, front-end interaction with applications. RPA has intelligent document processing features and also capabilities to showcase operational and business analytics too.
Okay, so it is pretty clear that RPA can work both when APIs are available and also when there are no APIs. And as we know, this webinar is all about automating CRM using RPA. So Arjun, can you show us some of the RPA use cases that can be used for CRM?
Sure, definitely. Let's look at some of the RPA specific use cases for CRM. To start with, we will discuss about the basic tasks. If you want to create a contact, lead, opportunity, standard or custom cases, you want to attach files to leads in the Salesforce. So these are like the basic tasks which you can perform in the Salesforce. But with RPA bots, what are we trying to automate here? The classic example is the data from one system can be pulled by a bot and updated, inserted, or deleted from Salesforce to make sure that multiple systems can keep their data in sync. That's what we are trying to achieve using RPA for these basic tasks. Next, let me explain you about some of the end-to-end use cases where you can use RPA. The first one is about the contract management, where we have a company which works with multiple vendors and they have individual contracts with them. And if you want to maintain the contract expiration dates, the bot can do all that repetitive tasks on a timely basis. It can send out notifications to vendors. It can create different reports, which can contain all the required details, such as expiration dates, and then it can email it to the contract manager. Let's look at one more use case, which is about Salesforce quotation process automation. Here, what we are saying is like we have an account and then there is an opportunity to be created. So that's where the bot can come in. It can identify the required account ID, create an opportunity, add the required SKUs. It can also involve like the specified partners if you want to work on that particular opportunity, and then it can update the contact details for that account. Now, we have looked at automating the basic tasks and also some end-to-end use cases. Now, let's look at a persona-based automation, which is called a digital worker. In this case, we will take an example about a role called digital sales operations specialist. In his day-to-day activities, let's see what all he performs. He creates new products from different ERP systems and other inventory management system. He creates contacts, leads, quotes. He also performs data tasks like extracting the sales data, sending out messages to Salesforce. So here, multiple bots like specific to these use cases can be bundled together to create this role-based automation solution. The goal is to assist the executive in handling his day-to-day activities in a better fashion so that he can focus on value-added tasks. That's about the persona-based automation.
Excellent. So that means we can use RPA for task-based use cases like, say, creating contact, or we can use it for end-to-end implementations like contract management altogether, or we can even use it for the use cases related to the user personas, right? Yep, that's great,
Exactly.
Arjun.
That's correct.
Yep, yeah. Now, I'm really very curious to understand more about how you build the bots along with the participants. I got many questions there. Are we going to see a demo there? And yeah, as I said, I'm really curious to see a demo now, how we can use these bots with the Salesforce.
Sure, Satya. Let's get to the demos. Before that, I would like to just briefly introduce the platform, how it looks like, and then we will look at the use cases for which the bots are built. So I'd like to introduce Automation Anywhere's Enterprise A 2019. Let's take a quick look at this. This is a totally cloud-based platform, and it runs directly from the browser. So all you have to do is just like any other SaaS platform, you can just log into the control room. That's like the nervous system of the entire RPA platform through a web browser. And then on the left side, you see all these actions available for you to just drag and drop and configure to build a bot. For example, all these actions are in alphabetical order. And now you want to launch a website, which is available under the browser action. And then you're just going to drag and drop it here so that the workflow gets created here. And this is essentially your bot. Now, let's see how the bots work. First, I would like to show you about the Automation Anywhere RPA bots for Salesforce. Here, it enables the Salesforce users to launch the bots from anywhere in the Salesforce, pass the data from Salesforce to Automation Anywhere bot, and then you can get the response. Also, these bots can be automatically launched in response to any event generated in Salesforce using the process builder.
Okay, so here you're talking about a use case where we are going to invoke the bot right from the Salesforce org, is it?
Exactly, yes. Let's consider a use case where the customer has requested that he needs to replace the laptop battery. This use case looks pretty simple, right? But now let's see what are the steps involved for this. As you can see, there are multiple systems involved in this use case. First is to confirm the validity of the warranty that's performed in the Salesforce, and then it has to check the inventory on Oracle NetSuite platform and then inform the warehousing. After that, it has to inform the shipping systems. Again, the station is some application which does not expose APIs. In that case, you would have to physically work on the front end of that application and then generate the return shipping label and then come back to the Salesforce platform and email the customer with a return shipping label, generate a report and close the case. Now let's see how it looks like. Let me run this demo for you, and I'll show you two demos. The first one is a recorded one, and the second one is a live demo. Now, here, this is where we are going to talk about the Salesforce connector, which works directly from the Salesforce application itself. We will look at both the configuration and the usage. Now, first, let's look at how we can configure. Earlier, Satya talked about the connector available in the AppExchange. That's what we have installed it in the platform. As you can see, this is the connector which is available. First, you have to establish the connection between the Salesforce and the Automation Anywhere platform. So that is where you're going to get the user ID, the password, and the URL of the Automation Anywhere platform. And then you can also select the different deployment types available, and then you have to authorize the connection between the two platforms. Now, as you can see, it is both connected. Next is to look at the bot configurations. Here again, you can see different configurations being created. Let's take an example first. Now, here you're going to just give it a name for that configuration, which you can identify. And then, because both the platforms are connected now, you can choose the bots which you want to run in response to a specific action on the object. In this case, we are going to look at the battery replacement bot to be executed. You can also choose manual or automatic. Manual means you open a specific case and then you kick off the bot. If you talk about the automatic, that's when it is integrated as part of the process builder itself. Now let's look at how the manual bot looks like. We're going to select manual and then click on next. Here, we have to pass some data back and forth between the Salesforce platform and the Automation Anywhere platform. This is where we are going to establish the connection between the fields in both the applications. You can see there is one column for mentioning which field from the Salesforce, and next to map it to the Automation Anywhere fields. As you can see, there are a couple of parameters defined in the bot, which are configured now so that the data can be passed across. And now the configuration is complete. Now let's look at how the bot looks like in the Automation Anywhere platform. As I showed you previously, this is totally in the browser, and all the steps are shown here, and this can be categorized into different steps for you to look at specific modules. And then, as mentioned earlier, you can bring in the power of coding if you are a power programmer. As you can see in these steps, we are invoking the Python script to execute some of the steps. So there are options available to both work on drag and drop options as well as integrating with your any of your existing automation modules you have. Let's see how it works. First, log into the Salesforce platform. This is where the agent logs into his specific platform and then goes to the service bar and he opens up a specific case. And he has a couple of case numbers to process, and he's going to act on the first record now. On the right side, now you will see that the bots will appear which are connected to this case. As you can see, these are different bots which are available, and the status will be updated every time you run the bot. So you can see that the bot was run earlier as well, and now you can run it again. So let's see in action. The agent is just going to click on run button and confirm that he wants to rerun this bot. And now the bot runs. You can see the status on the bottom right corner. You don't have to launch a separate application. The Salesforce users need not step out of their comfort zone, that is the Salesforce application. And now they have received a message that it has created a required a replacement dispatch request along with the dispatch number. And now you can see that this is how the bot can be executed within the Salesforce platform itself.
That's a great demo, Arjun. So what we have done so far is we have installed the Automation Anywhere product on the platform. Then we have authorized it in the settings there for that product installed. And then we have created the configurations where it can be either automatically launched or manually launched. And then we have selected the bots that are already available in our account there in Automation Anywhere. And then we also showed how those things are configured in the on the Automation Anywhere platform. And finally, we have triggered that bot manually from the Salesforce org, which ran the bot, and it connected to the different orgs, one org for the battery replacement, the other org for the delivery of the battery, and finally it updated the record on the Salesforce platform, right?
Exactly. Yes,
Yeah,
that's correct.
so nice. Now, can you also show us how to run the bot from the Automation Anywhere side rather than this was the Salesforce initiated? If you want to run the bot from the Automation Anywhere and get some information from the Salesforce org, how can we do that?
Let's look at the next use case. Here, we will consider an example, which is a mass transfer of records. So what this use case talks about is like a agent has a bunch of unassigned cases, or it is assigned to a default user, in which you want to extract the case details and then pick up the purchase order number. And this purchase order number has to be looked up in a third party app to see to which state that particular order is connected to. And then we have a spreadsheet which connects both the state information and the representative information. Based on that representative information, it has to pick up that name and come back and reassign the case in the Salesforce application. As you can see, there are like multiple systems involved. Salesforce, there is a third party app again which does not expose an API, and then we have a Excel application which contains the state information and the representative information. At the end, it is coming back to Salesforce and it is updating in the platform. Now let's look at the demo. I'll quickly log into the platform. Here, this is how Automation Anywhere Enterprise A 2019 looks like. I had showed you just on the contextual slides level, and this is how the platform looks like. On the left side actions, I will type Salesforce. And now you can see that there is a specific package being built to work with different actions to be performed on the Salesforce application. As you can see here, you can first authenticate. This is all in the backend. It's using the Salesforce APIs, and then it is able to connect with the Salesforce platform. It can delete some objects. It can execute the SOQL queries, and it's going to get a response as JSON. It can insert or create like different Salesforce objects, and it can also update the objects. Now let's see how the bot looks like. As you can see here, this is the entire workflow of the bot. So what this means is like this is like a flow chart. As you can see, this is displayed in a flow view, and then there is a list view, which is kind of like how the developers would like to see the entire process being automated. And then there is a dual mode where it will show you both the platform in the workflow mode, that is the flow view, and also on the developer preferred list view. Now let's go back to the flow view, and then these are created in terms of modular programming, so that you can kind of like actionize into smaller modules, and then there is a framework developed. So let me just go straight into the logic which is being built. Here, this is where the step is written such that it authenticates with the Salesforce application. As you can see, there are credentials being passed, the client ID, client secret, Salesforce username, password, and all these values are securely stored in credential vault, That is where you can store all your passwords in a secured manner, and then the bot is just going to invoke those credentials during the runtime. And then you have to get a list of the cases which are available in the application. So let me just show you that application again. So this is the application. We looked at it earlier also. Based on every PO number which is available in the Salesforce, it has to look at which is the state to which this particular purchase order connects with. So now let's look at the Salesforce. Let's take these three cases. We see that it has a specific subject called new purchase order available to process, all these three. And then these are connected to a owner name called Micah Smith. Now let's open one of the case to see how the purchase order number looks like. We'll give it a few seconds for it to load, and then we are going to look at the description where you're going to see the PO number being available there. You can see that there is a PO number available here. So the bot is going to read the entire description, and then it will identify this specific PO number, come back to this third-party application, and then search for this particular PO number. Let's say if we take this example, which is connected to the state called South Dakota. And then it has, in the backend, we also have an Excel, which has a specific representative name connected to each of these states, which it will pick up back. And then it will come back to the Salesforce platform to update these names. So this is how the entire use case looks like. So as you can see here, we are running a execute SOQL query to get the list of cases, and then some JSON parsing is done. And then PO lookup and reassign the cases according to whoever is the assigned person. Let's scroll down a little. I'll show you a few more steps where it is going to look up the PO and identify the ship to state. And then it will look up the state to find the assignee from the Excel. Again, as you can see, you can load this Excel directly from the control room or even from the desktop file. It's going to read through the data in the Excel. And then finally, it is going to reassign the case in the Salesforce. Now let's see how this looks like in action. I've just clicked on run. So as this is a cloud-based platform, it's going to deploy it to your local system, and then it's going to start running in your local system. You can see the status on the bottom right corner that it is picking up different cases. Here I've just showcased how the authentication mechanism works, and it has shown the access token, which it has received from the Salesforce API. And next, it has to first get the list of cases. It has to give me just a second. Some issue with this.
Yeah, so in the interface that you were showing, Arjun, there is something called as flow, then we have something called as list, and there is a combination of those things. So does that mean that we can drag and drop and build the bot?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Let me again, give me a second. Let me step back and run this bot again. Yes, I've just executed this bot again. Let's see how it runs.
So basically, it's going to perform all those steps that we have defined. It's going to run a SOQL query, get that information from Salesforce, and then process it. So you also put some pop-up messages at a very stage of the integration, is it?
Exactly. Yes, that's correct. It's going to showcase what is the different tokens which are available and the number of cases. For some reason, let me re-log in into the platform. It's just going out.
Yeah, that happens in real time in general. So some connection issues, and if the things don't work, that's absolutely fine. But still, Yeah, this is how we get the information. And what would be the final output? It's going to change the owner of those case records, is it?
Exactly. Yes, that's correct. Yes. And once it runs the bot successfully, it's going to show us that the case numbers are actually updated on the Salesforce platform.
Okay, so it's deploying on your computer, it's downloading the dependencies, and then it is running the bot.
Exactly. Yes, that's correct. Now you can see that the access token
Access token. So it connected to the Salesforce
is
platform.
correct. Yes. Now you can see that there are three cases which we looked at, and that's what it
Great.
picked up. And now
So
it's
it
going
has
to
run the SOQL
process.
query and got the records back. Awesome.
Exactly. Yes, that's correct. And now it has identified that for the specific case it was working on, there is a new case owner, that is Mitch Manders.
Mhm.
And now it's in a loop. It's going to work on the rest of the two records, and it is also going to show us what is the new
Okay,
case owner it has
so it
identified.
has identified the owners from the third-party application which hasn't exposed any API, and then it's matching
Correct.
now, is it? Great.
Exactly. Yes. And say, for example, in this case, it failed to work on a specific case. In that case, it will also give you a message. So on the third case, it is able to again identify the case owner, that is the Johnny Regan. So that's how you will have information about what the bot is performing. You can have this message boxes just if you are running as a attended bot, but if you are running it as an unattended bot, then you don't need to add this message boxes, and it will totally execute all by itself.
Obviously, because it's going to disturb us, right? So it has to be unattended fully. Yep.
Exactly. Yes. Now let's wait for the bot to be completed, and then we will go back to the Salesforce platform to check the status. While it has already updated a couple of them, let's go and check the status. Now it has identified one more case owner. Let me go back to Salesforce and let me refresh this and see if it has been able to update. We'll give it a few seconds for all the cases to load again.
Okay, that indicates, yeah, the internet is also a little slow, but yeah, so the outcome, as I said, we are going to see the change of the names for those three cases.
Exactly. Yes. It's strange
So
that
yeah,
somehow the internet connection seems to be a little slow.
yeah, so while it loads, we can also, in fact, take some of the questions. So someone asked Arjun, like, no, can automation anyway do things that can be done using Selenium test automation?
Yes, it can definitely do what Selenium does and a lot more capabilities too. And it is all done at an enterprise grade level where you have enough monitoring in place, enough security in place, and it can work with, as I mentioned earlier, web, Windows-based applications, and anything to do with Excels or APIs. You can even bring in your different programming languages strength as well.
Great, great. So while you refresh it once, there's one more question. Probably I can even take this question. It says the use cases are more like integrating with the external system. This is from Vishnu. He says that MuleSoft and other leading middlewares can do this magic. Is RPA another middleware platform? Yes, it's a nice question, Vishnu. So, when do we use the RPA? Say all this, the MuleSoft and other integrations we generally do when there is an API that is exposed. But if at all there is a legacy system which doesn't have any APIs, which doesn't create, we did not create any APIs or doesn't support any APIs, even in that case, we can use the RPA to integrate with that system.
Okay,
Okay,
probably the internet is a little slow here where it's not showing up, but you get the
that's perfectly
basic
okay,
idea of
Arjun.
what we
Yeah,
need
that's
to.
perfectly okay. And yeah, it's going to change those names. So the
Correct.
ran successfully, identified which owners ought to be changed, and it has changed. The only thing is we are unable to refresh. If time permits, we'll come back here. But let's get back to the slides. And
Sure.
now you showed us the use cases. Use cases are really great. You showed us at least three use cases. One use case where how to use the robotic process automation in general, and the second one is how we can implement the robotic process automation right from the Salesforce org and trigger it. And the third one is how we can trigger the bot from the Automation Anywhere platform. But for the audiences, if they want to learn more about the Automation Anywhere, is there any specific place or website from where we can learn about the Automation Anywhere in detail, Arjun?
Sure, definitely. Let me talk about how you can start your journey with us. We have divided into four categories: learn, build, engage, and earn. You can learn about the platform, you can build using the free community edition available, you can engage with us in the forum, and you can also list your solutions on the bot store. And the single point of entry for you will be our developer portal. The URL is as shown here, developer.automationanywhere.com. And then if you want to look at all the RPA bots which are available on the bot store, this is where you will have to head to botstore.automationanywhere.com, and then you can use the filters to look at specific bots which are related to the Salesforce application.
Great, great. I think we already started answering questions, but let's get into the specific Q&A session now and take more questions from the audiences who have joined us today. And there are so many questions that let's try to answer as many possible. So you can also pick some questions, Arjun. I'll try to pick some questions for you. Um, there is a question. Um, so, do you mean to say that all API-based automation suffices for cloud-based apps, while RPA is used for cloud migration and integration?
Yeah, it can be used for both kind of scenarios.
Great. Okay. How can we use RPA to create the records on Salesforce platform? I think there are options, right, to create the record, delete the record,
Exactly.
and
Either you can
yeah,
use the REST APIs and then the SOQL queries to do that, or there is a package which is already available as well in the Automation Anywhere platform, which you can use and configure them to work with specific objects you want to manipulate.
great. So there is one question saying, what is the site for creation of the bot? So, like, no, is there anything like if I want to use automation anywhere, do I have to purchase license or do I have to? Is there any trial which I can use and start working on that?
There is a free community edition available, which you can definitely just sign up on our website. Just go to automationanywhere.com and then you can sign up for the community edition, and it's available free of cost for you to try it out.
Okay. There's one question somewhere before we started the demos, how to create the bots. So for the benefit of the users, can you say like no how we create the bots in general?
Sure. So, see, all the specific actions which you want to automate are already available as a drag and drop features on the platform. So you will have to just identify which are the steps you want to automate and then look for that specific action, drag and drop it to the workflow, and then configure it with required parameters, and it will be, and then that forms the entire bot workflow which you can execute.
Okay, someone came up with a use case. Probably we may not be able to handle the complete use case, but let's try to answer as much possible. So someone says, I want to fetch details from each account, and each account will be having set of opportunities, and each opportunity will be having attributes. I need those attribute details for each opportunity. So how can we do that using automation anywhere? So is it possible?
Yeah, it is definitely possible. So just like how you mentioned each of those steps, you will have to first uh, you need some details from the account, and then you want to get that account, first query that account, and then look at what are the different opportunities available. Again, extract that information about the opportunities, and in that specifically, you can mention which is the attribute you are looking for, which you can again extract it to, and any of the formats, and if you want to use it and perform some computations and update it back to the Salesforce or any third-party systems, you can do that.
Yeah, and this question also includes a part where it says, is there any automation anywhere connector that can fetch the product line items, or is there anything that we can do to customize those connectors? Like, if there is already a connector available, can we take that connector, use that connector, and customize it?
Right now, the sales automation anywhere connector, you would not be able to customize it yourself. But if there is a use case which you really want to do it in your organization, we can definitely discuss about it and work on those required permissions.
Okay, there are so many questions, Arjun, and again, I think it's almost time. So let's take a question, one last question.
I'd like to just take one more
Yeah,
question before
you
you
can
move
pick.
on.
Yeah.
There's a question saying like, can we schedule the run? Definitely yes. If you want to execute manually by yourself, you can do that. That's what we spoke about, the attended automation. And then as part of unattended automation, you can always schedule it from the control room to say like at specific timings you want to run that bot. That is also possible.
Okay. There is one question, Arjun. In the community edition of A 2019, I don't see Salesforce actions that you have shown in the demo. Do I need to install or include in the control room?
Yes, it's actually not there on the community edition. So what happens is like we keep building different connectors, and then some of them will be uploaded on the bot store. So that's where you will see a lot of packages available, which you can upload and use it with the Salesforce application. But yes, right now the Salesforce actions are not yet uploaded onto the community edition.
Great. Do you want to take one last question, Arjun?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, uh, okay. Any Well, let me check one question here. Is there a demo of Selenium test automation that we can access anywhere on the Automation Anywhere website? Like, no, can we find somewhere? Can you point us to some URL? Is there anything like that where we
Not
can use Selenium?
specifically to Selenium, but if you want to look at a lot of bots which are developed and available for you to quickly look at, the bot store would be the best place where you have both bots and packages available, but maybe not specific to Selenium, but there are a lot more use cases which are automated and available on the bot store.
Great, great. With that said, there are more questions. We'll try to answer those questions. You can directly reach Arjun through Twitter, through a direct message, or me myself. I can also direct to the right resources. So feel free to ask the questions there. And with that said, let's get into the next slide. We are going to share you a survey after this session. Please feel free to fill in the feedback form. So it is going to definitely help us to improve our webinars down the line, and also pick up the topics which will be more suitable for our developer community. With that said, it's time to part for now, but we'll come back with some other webinars sooner. And thank you all for taking your time today and joining us. And thank you very much, Arjun, for taking us through what is robotic process automation and how the use cases look like, and how we can use the automation anywhere connected with the Salesforce platform. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Satya, and thanks a lot, participants, for joining this session. I hope it was useful for you, and please do check out the resources on the developer portal. And to learn more, feel free to get in touch. Always happy to assist developers in achieving what they were looking for. Thank you, friends.